Chapter 27 of the Alps, the Danube, and the Near East. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Betty B. Scene in Sofia. Are you tired? Is your soul down in the dumps? If so, put on the cap of Fortunatus and fly across the Atlantic for a plunge into the great municipal mineral bath of Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria. That will take the tired feeling out of your bones, cleanse every one of the million pores of your body, and make your soul sing like the turtle dove in Solomon's song. The water is from a hot mineral spring. It is a transparent emerald green, and it feels like velvet as it flows over your skin. I know of no other city on earth with a bath like this one. The building over the pool is larger than our 2 houses of Congress put together. It covers 5 or 6 acres and looks like a palace. Rising out of the center of Sofia and facing the mosque across a beautiful park, it is one of the striking features of this city. It is a great square structure, perhaps 50 feet high, with walls of white striped with red brick. A gorgeous frieze of porcelain blocks bands it just beneath the red tiled roof. The bath is reached through a stately entrance, and the interior is so ornate that it would not have been out of place in Rome or Pompeii in the days of their greatest magnificence. The swimming pool is walled with tiles, and from the mosaic walk about it rises a dado of green porcelain as high as my head. Around the basin are many cells where one can lie on a slab while a masseur works on him. There are also douches and showers and hundreds of first and second class rooms where one can have a tub to himself. A plunge in the pool costs only about 15 cents. The huge building is filled from 6 in the morning until far into the night, and I am told that 10,000 people bathe here every day. In the morning it is less crowded than in the evening, for many people bathe after their work is over, and up to midnight there is a long waiting line. Bulgaria is a land of hot mineral springs. I recently motored out to Banki, a bathing resort whose springs have the same properties as those at Carlsbad, or Karlovy Vary as the Czechs insist that it be called. Here I found another beautifully equipped establishment with a large swimming pool besides many private baths sunk into the floor. So much for cleansing your body. If you want a spiritual ablution, Sofia has an establishment grander than its mineral baths. I refer to the mighty Alexander Nevsky Cathedral. Imagine a white stone church bigger than we have in America, covering as much ground as a great government department building and topped with a gold-plated dome as big as a circus tent and shining like a new wedding ring, and you have a faint outline of the picture. To fill in your sketch, you must add smaller gold domes over 4 or 5 cupolas, put great caps of gold above the entrances, and let the entire structure glisten under the sun of this semi-tropical country. The interior of the cathedral is even more splendid than its outside. It is a great blaze of carving, frescoes, paintings, and gold decorations. Chapel after chapel is shut off by a lacework of marble that reminds me of that in the Taj Mahal at Agra. There are walls inlaid with semi-precious stones that recall the palaces of Delhi. There are columns that look like malachite and others of onyx upholding frescoed ceilings. The whole is a jewel of gigantic size and marvelous beauty. The pulpit, for instance, is of alabaster with an alabaster eagle on whose back is a gold rest for the Bible. The throne of the archbishop is ascended by steps of onyx, and the dignitary sits beneath a carved canopy of white marble upheld by pillars of dark gray, shining stone with capitals decorated in gold. The pillars in front rest on the backs of life-size lions of pure alabaster, gleaming like polished ivory, and the lacework of stone behind is of exquisite beauty. There is a wealth of mosaics, some of which remind me of those in St. Mark's at Venice. In short, there is such a mass of artistic decoration that it makes me think of the saying about the great temples of India, that their builders wrought like Titans and finished like jewelers. This huge building cost more than $5 million. Yet it was built by a nation of peasants whose average holding of land is less than 20 acres per family and who labor for less than $1 a day. But perhaps you care more for your mind than for either your body or your soul. In that case, you will want to have a look at the intellectual resources of the Bulgar capital. You should visit its universities with their 8,000 students, its high schools and technical institutes, and its American YMCA trade school, 90% of whose students get jobs as electricians, surveyors, and engineers before they are graduated. Or better still, go to the two museums, where you can study both the past and the present. First, cross the square in which the cathedral stands, and go past the great bronze statue of Alexander of Russia, the Liberator, to the National Costumes Museum. This contains exhibits of the many different kinds of work that make the Bulgarian peasants independent of the factories and mills of the rest of the world. Here, in a large 3-story building, are the hand looms on which are woven the rugs and the gorgeous gold braid, cloths, and embroideries which are known everywhere. Bulgaria is a land of house industries. The farmer clips the wool from his sheep, and his wife spins and weaves it into clothes for the family. He makes his own hardware and most of his pottery dishes and other utensils. Here are specimens of the rude contrivances for churning butter, grinding wheat, and making bread that have been in use for generations. In fact, here is displayed on a small canvas, as it were, a complete picture of the home life and work of the people. The other museum is just across the way from my hotel. It is in an old Turkish mosque with 8 low domes, each of which is as big as a haystack. This building is full of archaeological treasures and relics, mosaics, frescoes, and paintings. There are no statues of saints, as by the tenets of the Greek Catholic Church such images are forbidden. This is the reason why the icons, the representations of Christ or the saints to be found in every church and in almost every home in Bulgaria are not graven images. The statues in the museum are those of the Romans. They date back to the days of the Emperor Trajan or to times still more remote. There are broken and battered columns from the ancient temples, great marbles from antique fountains, and huge sarcophagi from which the dust of their one-time occupants has long since blown away. The exhibits of classic art overflow the building and fill a great part of the yard. And now, take a look at the setting of the things I have mentioned. Sofia lies in a plain surrounded by mountains and has spread herself over a large area. The city is a mixture of the rich and the poor, the grand and the shabby, the sublime and the ridiculous. Each treads on the heels of the other, and it is hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. The town has grown since the war. Refugees from Russia, Macedonia, and other countries surrounding it have swelled the population until it is close to 1/3 of a million. All the dwellings are full, and in the suburbs little houses, not much bigger than good-sized dog kennels, dot the plains. In the center of the city is the royal palace. Sofia is a blending of the old and the new. Its buildings are largely Oriental, and some of them date back to the 500 years of Turkish rule. One sees the remains of the ancient bazaars, yet there are many new stores with plate glass windows. The signs over the stores are in the Greek letters used by the Slavs, and some have on the outside walls pictures of the goods sold within. Anyone can read pictures, and when I see a painting of teddy bears, dolls, and go-karts on a shop front, I know the sign is that of a toy store. The city has a half-dozen theaters, a big market house, several good-sized hotels, of which the less said the better, and many parks and public playgrounds. But the most interesting thing about any place is its people. If you could lift the crowd promenading back and forth along Main Street here every afternoon and drop it down into any American town, it would create a sensation. To begin with, the women go about with arms bared to the shoulders and in gowns cut low at the neck. They wear bright colors, but they lack the beauty of the girls of Budapest and Vienna. There are Russian refugees, the men with their black trousers pushed into the tops of high black boots, and their shirts extending outside halfway to the thighs. The women are in attractive gowns with shawls wrapped round their heads to form turbans. There are Mohammedans in fezzes and Macedonians wearing full breeches, each leg of which has enough material for a whole suit of clothes. There are soldiers in brown woolen homespun with visorless caps on their heads, and officers in white caps and with wide red stripes on their trousers. The officers carry swords and some of the soldiers have rifles. There are long-gowned priests with high black caps and peasants dressed in all the colors of the rainbow. But the best time to see the native Bulgars is on Friday in the Sofia market, to which the people from the villages for miles about come in by thousands to buy and sell and get gain. I have been in the bazaars at Burma, Delhi, Algiers, Damascus, and Cairo. I have bought wares in the market encampments of Central Africa and have shopped in Bangkok, Tokyo, and Peking. But nowhere have I seen a more interesting gathering than that which collects in the wide streets of Sofia on a Friday. The people come in twos and threes and in companies. Many arrive in homemade farm wagons hauled by black water buffaloes, white oxen, or ratty little ponies. Each vehicle is so heavily loaded with vegetables, melons, poultry in crates, and fruit in baskets that one would think it might break down on the road. Others tramp in with great packs on their backs or fastened to the ends of poles resting on their shoulders. They get in before daybreak and distribute their wares over the streets, covering a space perhaps 2 miles in length and crossed here and there by side streets. A large part of the market is given up to foods. There are mountains of vegetables, including white onions as big as your fist, great round tomatoes the color of blood, green watermelons the size and shape of your head, blue plums, yellow apricots, and peaches of a roseate bloom. There are beans, green and ripe, white turnips and yellow squashes, roasting ears just from the stalk, green peppers 6 inches long and 2 inches thick, lettuce, and in fact every vegetable that we have in America. Some of the wares give an idea of the backward ways of the farmer. There are yokes for women to use in carrying pails on their shoulders, homemade plows and other implements, and wagon loads of wooden hay forks that are merely forked sticks cut in the thickets and peeled. There are wool peddlers selling the dirty black or white fleeces just as they come from the sheep. That wool will be cleaned and spun in the homes of the buyers and used to make the clothing for their families. We have here a nation of 5 million people, 4 millions of whom, I venture, are wearing garments made of materials woven by the women. The market is a good place to study the costumes of the peasants. This is one part of Europe where the styles are the same as they were generations ago. Every village has its own variations in costume, so that those familiar with the country can tell the home of anyone in the crowd. Most of the costumes are so gorgeous that one cannot see their like anywhere else except on the stage. Here come half a dozen girls. They have yellow silk kerchiefs wrapped round their heads, and their long braids of black hair hang down their backs. Each has the necklace of gold or silver coins constituting her dowry, and wears a gown heavily embroidered with gold braid. The gown falls almost to the feet. It is dark colored, but about the bottom there is a band of gold embroidery twice as wide as your palm. Under this band is a fringe of white lace. The sleeves of the white guimpe are embroidered with red and blue silk in quaint patterns. Behind this party come other girls in long yellow aprons and dresses gorgeous with gilt braid. The men are almost equally interesting. Some have high black caps of lambskin with the wool outside, and their clothes are of a butternut brown, often gaily embroidered. They wear vests and belts and trousers, all of homespun. The trousers are wrapped tight around the ankle, and the soft leather sandals are tied on with straps like the opances of the Serbian peasants. Others have on heavy boots reaching almost to their knees. Perhaps the scene and the people would not have seemed queer in the Middle Ages, but in this prosaic, everyday 20th century the effect is certainly strange. Chapter 27.